Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Crypto News Podcast. We are buzzing as always. Gotta love when a guest comes on for round 2, and you gotta love it even more when a guest comes on for round 3. I am super pumped to have the one and only Jack O'Halloran back on the show today, co-founder and CEO of SKALE Labs, a gasless EVM-compatible blockchain designed for secure Ethereum scaling. Jack is a true veteran in Silicon Valley tech, an entrepreneur with a deep background in machine learning and AI tech, and of course, blockchain. He previously co-founded Aktana back in 2008 and led the company's transformation from a 4-person startup to a global leader in the analytics market category, boasting over 350 employees and serving as an impressive roster of global Fortune 500 clients with its AI and machine learning platform tailored to optimize sales and marketing decisions. You guys already know about SKALE, so we don't need to jump into it. Super pumped to have the lad on for round 3. Jack, welcome to the show, my friend. How you doing?
I gotta say, it's a pleasure to be here. This is my number one favorite podcast to be on. You know, Matt just knows how to get the conversation rolling. And guess what? We talk about fun things, right?
Exactly. It's not just
we're having a good
stuff.
time. You know, we're talking crypto, we're talking blockchain, but we're just talking, we're talking life. So I always have fun on the show. Thanks,
I love
man.
it. I appreciate the kind words, my friend. Before we kicked off, you and I were chatting about golf. I'm usually wearing some type of golf gear on the pod. I have 9 trillion golf hats. Today, we're rocking the Titleist hat, the RGI one. Shout out RGI, Revenue Generators Invitational, a good little charity event that takes place twice a year in Toronto. I was telling Jack before the show, folks, Consensus actually dropped some big news while we were in Austin a couple of weeks ago. Consensus is no longer going to be in beautiful Austin, Texas. It's coming to Toronto. Candidly speaking, I don't know why it's coming to Toronto. Toronto's a great city, great for hosting conferences, but it ain't the most crypto-friendly city on the planet. And we're hosting Consensus. And with that being said, I'm going to start, folks, you heard it here first. I'm going to whip up a little golf tournament for next year. So if any of the listeners are tuning in and you're going to be in Consensus, or any builders, CEOs, you name it, and you want to join a golf tourney, Jack and I are going to be swinging the sticks at a beautiful track in Toronto, and that will be a lot of fun. Jack and I are both, I'd say, decent golfers, probably a little bit better than decent, but do you think there's any absolute sticks in the crypto world, like a couple +2, 3, 4 handicaps that are just going to take us for a walk in the park?
I know a few. There's a few that are really good. I used to be one of those, but now I work all the time, so I'm like,
yeah.
But there's some guys that still go pretty low. We've got some former college golfers. I'm going to throw it out there. Like, you need a sponsor. We'll be one of the sponsors for the tournament. Let's do it, man.
I love that. Sponsored by SKALE, the first ever crypto golf tournament. We're going to get some content in that too. Another thing that gets me going about that is I'm a bit of a degenerate gambler on the course. I mean, I'm a lefty like Phil. Doesn't matter what it is, 3-foot putt, 10-foot putt, off the tee, whole match, 9 holes, doesn't match play, stroke play, Stableford, doesn't matter what it is. I feel like we could get into some spooky gambling scenarios as well with like crypto. You know, it's so easy. We don't got to worry about Zello or e-transfers for us in Canada. It could just be like, hey, you know, bet you full ETH on this 18-hole run. That could get fun.
Yeah. Let's not play wolf or anything crazy where numbers get out of control. But
yeah, that'll be a treat.
Do it, you know, hey, let's just lean into this whole like degen movement.
That'll be a lot of fun. Speaking of degen movement, have you been you or your team, your network, dabbling in any of the shit coins recently?
You know what? Our team, yes, we've got I think a team of degens. I've been, you know, observing very, very closely and building, and one of the nice things about us is we have hundreds of applications that are building, and so I'm getting to spend time with like these builders that are launching tokens with like true utility, and that's frankly where my focus has been. But I gotta say, you listen to the water cooler conversations around the SKALE Labs HQ. There's a lot of degen alpha going on.
Yeah, 100%. Before we get into SKALE, I want to talk about it's actually been I want to say a good chunk. It's been a while since we've had someone on in regards to Web3 gaming. First time I had you on, I want to say it was back in 2021, 3 years ago. Crazy to think how quickly time has flown, but in 2021, everyone was so bullish on the Web3 gaming narrative. It was sort of that macro narrative that was going to onboard the masses into Web3. And there's only been a couple companies like yourself that's really moved the needle and allow really good developers and gaming companies to actually build on a blockchain like Scale, zero cost minting, super, super quick, EVM compatible to move the needle. But I want to ask you about Web3 gaming as a whole. You obviously have a much better pulse than 99% of people in the industry. What's going on with Web3 gaming as a whole? Are we going to see a couple games pop off and really take this mainstream? Is it sort of falling behind? What's going on there?
Oh yeah, just all I gotta say is just get ready. Like it is already on Scale. So one of the fun things when Matt and I first talked, I remember this conversation. We're like in this like crazy bull market period, and post COVID like weird zone. It was a weird time, but every conversation was like, oh, and in the future this will happen, and then this, we'll be able to do this and this, and like now I can go back and say, hey, like right now. We have over 50 million transactions in the last 30 days on Scale.
Jesus.
We have averaging almost over 5 million unique active wallets a month. And guess what? A huge chunk of that's driven by gaming and also Web3 AI products, decentralized social products, DePIN. But man, it's unbelievable. Like it's so nice to be able to be on a podcast and talk about what's happening, not what theoretically could happen. And in gaming, there's some huge games that are just ripping on Scale, and there's more launching. And I think you're going to see this massive breakout, especially as these partnerships and integrations with like Unity and like games in the Epic store are actually coming together, which we're seeing.
Besides Web3 gaming, you brought up something that sort of really tickles my fancy at the moment, and that is social apps. I'm a big believer that in order for blockchain and Web3 and crypto to go mainstream, I really think we need a massive social app, similar to how like Facebook, revolutionized everything. I remember being in, I want to say it was grade 7, grade 8. Crazy to think how long ago that was. That was 2007, 2008. And I remember everyone's getting on Facebook, and then boom, that kicked it off. And then you had Insta, then you had Snapchat. And now, of course, you have everything else as well. You got the TikTok. Do you think it's going to be a game, or do you think it's going to be a social app that really like sort of breaks down that barrier and brings the masses into Web3?
I think the challenge with social apps is they're fighting such strong network effects.
That's a good point.
If you think about it, like, and hey, Farcaster is a cool product, but it's reality is it's like kind of like using Twitter in a lot of ways.
Exactly.
There's a really nice, I think, like positive crypto community there and like really good conversation. But I think the massive challenge is like overcoming these network effects where people are like the main conversation's still happening on X. Older generations, main conversations happening on Facebook now.
Yeah.
Business people are chatting on LinkedIn. It's just hard to break into that. So I think my personal feeling is we're still 3 to 5 years until the number one global social network is a crypto native play. But I do think it will happen. I mean, you look at the way like people are learning to incentivize actions. Look how many people go do airdrops, right?
Yeah.
And look how many people like game launches and they're like, oh, we have these rewards. Man, people come out of every nook and cranny to go and like play and then the nice thing about gaming is they're doing something fun and they go, I'm mining these rewards instead of mining these airdrops. But then they start getting hooked, and then like if the game's good, they stick around.
Yeah.
And if all these kind of skills and growth methodologies we're learning, I think eventually are going to like come over into a social network. But right now, I don't think there's that type of focus, and there's not that much mass awareness. So I think gaming will be the first category where you have, 10 million people a day utilizing a blockchain, like hammering it, and it'll be a mobile game, a casual mobile game.
It's got it. Yeah, you're right. It's got to be a casual mobile game, and that really will make it happen. But I mean, again, though, I could rip off 20 games that do have, tens of thousands, maybe a couple of them have hundreds of thousands DAUs, daily active users. But when we get to that million a day mark, is this going to be 2024, 2025? We still a couple years out. I hate being the guy who asks like time frame questions, but how many years out are we until this happens?
Well, I mean, so on Scale right now, I'm just pulling up some data. So World of Dipians, 113,000 unique active wallets in the last 7 days. That's 24 hours. So 240,000 in the last 7 days. Pixudi, 137,000. Haven's Compass, 120,000. 5 stars, 240,000 last 7 days. Pixudi, 137. Haven's Compass, 120,000. World of Dipians, 114,000. Yomi Block Puzzle, 43,000. So Haven's Compass is a really heavy downloadable, like serious game, like AAA shooter game. Like I think that, that and Stray Shot to me are the two are going to be the two most massive plays in like this heavy gaming category.
Yeah.
But I look at these other ones and look at these numbers. Like Yomi Block Puzzle is just a fun mobile game. It's like really easy to play, super simple. 5 stars is like this sports fantasy game. That's also like, the backbone of Lionsgate Media or Stars Play or Stars Entertainment has a like live streaming fantasy product that all runs on blockchain. It all runs on Scale. And so you see these like things popping out, but we're looking at like, hundreds of thousands a day. And to go from 100,000 to 1 million doesn't take that long when you start hitting these growth curves. And especially if you look a year ago where you had like the best games had tens of thousands. So we're at tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands. We'll very quickly be, I think, by the end of this year, millions. Especially there's just one kick-ass games launching. Two, like even at home, I always see my wife's just always messing around on her phone playing these like casual games. Like, what are you doing? She's like, I just fun. I just zone out. I'm like, so many people do that.
Yeah.
And guess what? What if you could do that and be like in this like fun cryptocurrency environment where you're like using Web3 and you're like playing with these like assets, and it just, I think, take things to a different level. And I don't see any reason why it won't happen based off all the data points I'm seeing right now.
Tell me if I'm out to lunch here, Jack. I think we need one of the big streamers to get involved, like one of the Aiden Rosses or Kai Cenat or iShowSpeed, Ninjas, blah, blah, blah. There's dozens of them who just get stupid engagement. Like these guys are rivaling like network television, like just not network television, like live sort of news at night kind of thing, which would sort of be synonymous and equivalent to streaming. If one of these big Web3 games gets them on board, like the power that these guys have, all it takes is Kai Cenat, pumping, not even pumping, but just showing that one of these games is obviously at the root fun, because that's what gaming is all about, fun. And this is where Web3 is fucked up a lot, where Web3 has broadcasted and incentivized the sort of financial incentives over the fun. But all we need is a couple games that are really truly fun at its core, that also incentivize the users with some massive spokesperson like a Kai Cenat or an iShowSpeed or an Aiden Ross. And I feel like the gates are going to come down. I feel like the parade is going to roll into town.
That's when like we'll go out there and we'll just put the flag in the ground. Yes. And be like, we're here. We're here. Yeah.
But right in center field.
So here's my like kind of like, this is how I'm observing this. Like it's almost like this lineage of like this evolution of shitting on Web3 gaming. So first it was like, these games suck. They're not fun. That's what the haters said. Because the thing is, these big streamers have to listen to their audiences, and this is the narrative in their audience. And then they're like, all of a sudden we have all these fun games. Like, oh, well, these economics are abusive and people get manipulated. They're going to lose a lot of money. Well, guess what? Like so many of these games have like really compliant, like friendly economics that it's not like people aren't going to get snared in and like lose a bunch of money. And I think that people learned a lot. And, hey, there's some blockchain games that like, hey, get ready to like, put your pads on and go out there and, make a lot of money or make a lot of assets or lose a lot of assets. And, but that's not that model isn't going to scale for like, people need to feel protected. And then the third piece that now is like the latest version is, well, these things don't even use a blockchain. Why are you even using a blockchain? This is just a scam. And so I have to say that's a valid argument if people aren't using the blockchain for any game logic. And so what happens is some people just mint a bunch of NFTs and then just run a traditional Web 2 game or like traditional game. And you don't even use the blockchain. And then this database, centralized database says, oh, Matt beat Jack. Now Jack has to transfer that, Titleist golf club over to Matt. And because he won. And then in the back end, like it just, moves that asset. But instead on Scale, because it's gas-free gaming, because we can do so much more with our block sizes, because the instant finality, you have people building all of this game logic in, like you made the putt, that's recorded on the chain. Oh, and your score was one better than mine. Oh, and then you beat me, and then you win the prize NFT golf ball that I had before that we both put up, as a bet, or whatever it is, like all these things get recorded on chain. And so the logic is actually, it's transparent. And that's the promise of blockchain, right? We have like immutable, transparent databases that provide value to the end user. It's not just about money or gambling or, meme coins or,
Yeah.
NFT speculation. Like it's real utility. And so we're seeing that on scale. And that's why there's so many damn transactions. There's 55 million transactions because people are using the blockchain as a like truth vehicle.
No, well said. Jack, you just teed me up on scale here. I'm going to throw the ball over to your court. Again, obviously, Jack's on for round 3. For the listeners who didn't have the pleasure of tuning in for round 1 and 2, you got to give us the elevator pitch on scale, why you guys are so unique, how you are really powering Web3 gaming, of course, other applications as well, and how you're redefining interactions within the Web3 community. Throwing the ball over to your court. Give us the elevator pitch, then we'll jump into some of the nitty gritty.
Yeah. So Scale is a blockchain built to bring blockchain to millions or billions of people. Okay. It's the world's fastest blockchain per Dartmouth study. It's built and connected to Ethereum, but in itself, it's a modular blockchain. There's already 18 blockchains living in the Scale network. It's one, you can think of it as one big fast blockchain, but it has lots of these, shards or components. And there's like a gaming shard, for example, called Nebula, and it's the most utilized blockchain in the world for gaming. And guess what? It's also built and connected to Ethereum, and it gets a lot of security from Ethereum. And so it's, in a way, it's a layer 2. In a way, it's a layer 1. Thing is, it's built different, and it's built for massive scalability so that normal people can use blockchain, not people who only know how to use MetaMask, not people who only know how to use Ledger, not people who, can effectively hide their recovery phrases and not lose them. It's built for people that want to, businesses that want, hey, those other areas are supported, but if you're relying on self-custody wallets and technical complexity, and you want to have millions of daily active users, you're doing it wrong.
That's very true there. Talk to me a little bit about the tech stack here, and I'd love if we could jump into ETH as a whole. Everyone's shitting on ETH right now. I will agree that some of it is deserved, and I don't even think it's deserved so much on the quantitative aspect. Yes, we've had some improvements to gas. Obviously, for someone like you guys, where it's gasless, we're not, every time you make a transaction on Scale, you're not getting soaked. But I mean, heck, I even remember, I want to say it was February, when I transferred some ETH over to Blast. You don't want to fade Pac-Man Blur. I was like, I'll jump into the Blast ecosystem. And I want to say my transaction was like 250 bones. And I was like, are you friggin' kidding me? Like, we're in 2024 and this shit's still going on.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. But again, it has gotten better. But then there's the qualitative part where it's like the ETH maxis just love picking fights with every other L2, especially the Solana folks. And I don't candidly get it. Like, if you're in the top spot, why are you giving free PR, free advertisements to your competitors? And again, it's decentralized. It's not like there is a spokesperson, Vitalik, but folks, maybe, for so many friggin' intelligent, brilliant people, 100 times smarter than myself, get your ducks in a row, like give your head a shake and, why are you doing this stuff? So with that being said, what's going on with ETH at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm a long-term ETH maximalist, and that's why Scale's built and connected to Ethereum. Love Ethereum, but my personal complaint about as a community member is there's a very clear lack of cohesive counter narrative marketing or strategic competitive marketing strategy and global communication strategy. And part of that is it is a decentralized animal.
Exactly.
And people like Vitalik saying, hey, no, it's not my job to be the spokesperson, but there is a foundation. There are a lot of people that are frankly very in control. And I feel like they're missing the ball in a lot of ways. And me as somebody, Scale building, interconnected to that environment, I'd personally be doing some things different if I were in a leadership role there. I'll just tell you that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what would you do differently if you're running the show at the ETH Foundation?
I mean, and running the show, I think it's impossible to run it, but it's possible to run it as a leader, a community leader or DAO leader, right?
Yeah.
And I think you don't think of it as a company, think of it as a big ass DAO. Yeah. I mean, I think number one, the things you're talking about are really true. I think you're giving the spotlight to other people. Two, I think this sole focus on roll-ups that still have fees. And then, when the solution's always a year out and 2 years out.
Yes.
That doesn't make sense. And and if I really might be embracing Scale far more too, the revenue capture per X transaction on Scale compared to an L2 is magnitudes different for ETH. You know, if you look at ETH as like, you know, a fee aggregator or fee capture tool, but if you could grow your market size 100x in terms of like the number of transactions and the number of use cases, and like not let competitors come in who have like fast zero fees or fast low fees, you may be getting less revenue, but your pie is bigger and you're more defensible. And that was always Scale's position. Like, hey, let's not be so focused on short-term fees. Let's be focused on reach, because there's such an amazing lead and head start. And we're going to shoot ourselves in the foot if we're just so focused on fees, fee capture, even at the L2 level. And then they're like, oh, we'll do L3. And then it's like, but then you have all these other UX issues and lazy. Then we'll do an L4. It's like, no, just like embrace a more scalable option that has lower fees, spread your wings, capture, you know, keep your market share where it is, and then like start adding fees later as these competitors. Because then what does a competitor have? If you're fast and you have like super low fees and you're in the lead, someone else, you're like, we're fast and low fees. And we're like, okay, get out of here. But now they're like, your fees are these fees are fucking ridiculous. So people are like, oh yeah, they are. So
you brought up one of the biggest points, which is being in the lead. Like first mover advantage is everything in business. When you're in first, you get to build that moat. And ETH had such a massive moat. That wasn't just a moat with like, you know, a little 5-foot moat around the castle. That was like a 1,000-foot moat with friggin' blood-hungry sharks in the water, you know, Apaches circling the friggin' castle, you know, AC-130. Like it was just a crazy moat. And then it's pretty much gone. And one of the sort of narratives and analogies that I give from my non-crypto friends, my Web2 folks, the normies who often ask me questions that are well above my pay grade, is I try to tell them, like, think of ETH as like the internet, where it's like, you don't, like, no one talks about the internet. You talk about all the applications on the internet. That's what the friggin' L2s are. Like, talk about again, I'm giving bad examples, but talk about like how amazing G Suite is, how amazing Unity is, for example, which powers games, how incredible Epic Games is, or whatever. But it's like the L2s are what is going to onboard the masses, not ETH. You know what I mean? And like once a normie jumps onto the ETH ecosystem and makes their first transaction, Matt, why the fuck am I spending $40 to send you or Jack, you know, $10 in ETH? It's nonsensical. It makes no sense. I don't get why we're still having this problem. It baffles me, Jack. It truly baffles me.
Yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, there's this narrative going around where like, is ETH the next Yahoo? Is Ethereum Yahoo? Well, then who's going to be Google? That's like, I've heard that a lot in the last week.
Yeah.
And, you know, I kind of say like, hey, like the reach Ethereum has within the developer community, and, you know, EVM, whereas it's not a perfect vehicle, is
powerful, efficient,
massive share. And so they're like, you know, just kind of taking EVM and running it in their own systems and getting highly gated because they don't know how to, like, you know, optimize EVM, which Scale does. Scale has its own bespoke, like C++ Ethereum virtual machine that's really fast. But, you know, I'm a believer, but I do think that it's not impossible for them to F it up.
Yeah, well said.
The collective people running it.
Too smart.
Like, I'd love to be in that room and be like, okay, guys, let's rethink this a little bit.
Yeah, it's crazy for such a smart group of lads and ladettes. I mean, but then again, you can't win them all.
I mean, the problem is like you have like a lot of brilliant technical minds, and typical like Silicon Valley tech businesses have brilliant technical minds and brilliant like business minds.
Yes.
And sometimes those are the same person who can do both, but oftentimes it isn't. But you need to have those people that have a whole expertise in like platform strategy and like, you know, competitive landscape and product market fit and like long-term planning for like this type of like global scalable situation. You can't just rely on the most brilliant technologists to try to figure that out and assume that it's going to work perfectly. Now, there is like a beauty of the ETH ecosystem where it's like, hey, no, we're just a bunch of builders. We're just trying to build the best product ever. And we don't give a shit about any sort of like global competitive scenario, but the reality is they do. So might as well just own it.
You need the quan and you need the qual. It's one of my favorite quotes, the Steve Jobs quote. He's like, if you can build and sell, you're unstoppable. It might even be Naval Ravikant. I think he may have stolen that from Steve Jobs, but like someone like me, I can't build. I don't know the tech side like you do, but I can sell. I can sell ice to an Eskimo. I can sell oregano to Snoop Dogg, but I don't have the coding background. You know what I mean? So that's what we need. But Jack, we got to take a quick break, give a huge shout out to our sponsor of the show, Prime XBT. And when we get back, we are going to keep buzzing on everything Scale and jumping into some partnerships that are huge and that truly onboard the masses. Until then, huge shout out to Prime XBT. Longtime friends of CryptoNews.com and longtime sponsors of the Crypto News podcast, we love Prime XBT as they offer a robust trading system for both beginners and professional traders. It doesn't matter if you're a rookie or a vet. You can easily design and customize your layouts and widgets to best fit your trading style. Prime XBT is also running an exclusive promo for listeners of the Crypto News pod. The promo code is CryptoNews50 to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. Again, that is CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. And now back to the show with Jack. We got to jump into your recent partnership with Virtualness, which brings fans of Liga One, one of the biggest football organizations on the planet. I don't know. Are they bigger? I don't know if they're bigger than the Prem, but still massive, massive, massive.
I think in terms of number of people, but maybe not in terms of
team value or something. But yeah, still.
There are a lot of people in that part of the world.
Yeah, everyone knows La Liga. Everyone knows Liga One. And you guys are literally giving access to all the fans with SKALE, zero gas, and instant finality. What does this mean for SKALE? What does this mean for football fans around the world? And how friggin' incredible was this partnership to finally get locked up for you guys?
Yeah, what I'll say is this is a great example of a team that's building product for normal users. Okay?
Love that.
Mobile first product, normal users. And we were really, just excited they picked SKALE. Okay. So they had all these options. They deployed on Polygon. They had every blockchain in the world, catering to them, like trying to get them to build on their platform. But SKALE's gas free. And then, they have to pay a chain fee in SKALE tokens, but the unit economics are just so much better. And so for us, it was amazing validation to see, a team that is, the founding team of Facebook India, and, just some really, really smart people who know how to build product that can scale literally to billions of people, pick the architecture of SKALE over, the other top 10 chains that are out there trying to pitch them. So that was awesome. And I think it's just speaks again to what will be the next mega app. And this is an example of a social app that combines NFT marketplace, creativity, fan engagement, right? And that might be the kind of orthogonal entry to getting into this Web3 social play we talked about earlier. Instead of directly saying, we're beating Facebook or we're going to beat Twitter, it's a different use case that then backs into that.
And another partnership you got to talk about, and I believe by the time this goes live, not I believe, I'm 100% positive, by the time this goes live, your partnership with Unity, everyone knows who Unity is. Unity is the friggin' engine behind a stupendous amount of the best AAA rated games on the planet. You guys just did a partnership with them, or the partnership will be announced. By the time this goes live, you're the first blockchain partner to participate in Unity's publisher support program, and developers on SKALE can leverage Unity's world-class services for premier Web3 game development, which we absolutely need, because like we discussed, a lot of the Web3 games, I don't want to say no bueno, but perhaps not the quality that we need in order to compete with the Web2 games. This kicks it off. What does this mean for you guys as well?
Yeah. This is exciting. For people who don't know what Unity is, Unity is the number one game engine in the world, okay? Especially if you're building mobile games and you want to have a casual game. Well, you can just write a bunch of ones and zeros and build your, this whole thing. But Unity lets you kind of build with Legos to build the dynamics of oh, hey, here's a background. Oh, here is player. The player does A and B. It lets you code way faster and build a kick-ass game.
We're talking 3D virtual worlds, all world shit here.
Yeah, and you think about it, all the movements, somebody swings and hits a ball on the trajectory, these things, if a developer has to code in every little fucking detail,
Nightmare fuel. Fuel.
Yeah, and so Unity lets you build things fast. Now, SKALE already has a Unity SDK that's built by the Eidolon team, really, kick-ass team in New Zealand, built and contributed this code, and they've got a great product for people building on Unity and SKALE as well. But now Unity's, they've launched this SDK for lots of blockchains, and they're saying, hey, we have so many game developers that are actually building Web3 games. Before it was we got these blockchain guys that are trying to mess around with Unity for the first time, and get out of here, you're not game builders. But all of a sudden, there's tens of thousands of devs, probably 10,000 devs at least, that build on Unity for Web3 games.
Yeah.
And it's a complete transformation for them, realizing wow, how do we support these people? Well, Unity is very focused on developer support. Okay. They're very focused on making developers successful. So are we. Like Scale as a core team, that's our sole focus, like make developers successful. That's our number one thing we care about. And we are going to be able to join the publisher program with Unity. So Scale is the first blockchain to join this, where we can actually provide like super high level white glove support for builders building on Scale and Unity.
I love that line, making developers successful. That is the core. I mean, without empowering the devs in Web3, like you're so hooped because, again, we're still such a new industry. And I love that you guys are doing that. I want to take a quick break from Scale, from ETH, and from Web3 gaming as we are getting a little tight for time here. Any other areas of crypto, Jack, that really get you going at the moment at all the recent conferences we've been to? Everyone's talking still, of course, about DeFi. Everyone's talking about rollups, DPIN, RWAs. Any areas that really get you going besides, obviously, the stuff that you're working on?
Yeah, well, one thing let's just talk macro for a little while, okay? So there has been this like fun surge into meme coins. And so meme coins to me are, I would say, like a more democratized, accessible version of NFTs. NFTs, like people are like, yes, I am in the ape community. I'm going to buy one of these apes. But the problem is, if that already popped, most people can't buy it. And there's no fraction. It's not easy to buy a fractionalized ape. And so NFTs are like very limiting, or you're just holding something and no one wanted it. Now, meme coins, they have a picture. You'll have a dog with a hat. Okay. And it, to a normal person, it's just the same as an NFT. But the thing is, it's this fractionalized ownership. So I can like have that, and I can have $10 worth of it, or,
exactly
0.001 ETH worth of that. I don't need to, put 8 ETH floor to be a dog with hat person.
Yeah.
Or a, whatever meme coin I want to be a part of. And then the other thing is, what you get then is also this community. And you get all these people, like the Dogecoin people. You have this community of people, and like the tech isn't differentiated, but it's really like there's a picture, and there's a community, and there's a Discord, and there's a Telegram, and they're talking to their friends about it, and it's fun. And what I'm excited to see about that is like, see them be able to take that and then like really do community-oriented things, like launch games that are integrated with that token, launch other products, do things that you would expect out of like the highest caliber NFT communities.
Yep.
Now, what's happened, I'm gonna like keep going further into this macro, is that people got fucking burned. They got roasted. They lost tons of money. People who weren't in the know, lots of bad stuff's happening. And that's one of the reasons I was staying out of it as like in my role as like a public facing builder, is I don't want any, just don't want to get involved in any sort of like things that could, because there's 100%. A lot of people trying to manipulate things and like, hey, let's pump this, let's do this. And what happened is people who weren't in the know bought late, and then like people would sell, and it turned into this really messed up thing. So I think the best of these meme projects are going to continue, and they're going to actually become the next like big like NFT communities. Like the Pudgy Penguins will be the, equivalent will be these meme coins, but a more democratized version. But everybody else is then saying, well, what's next? And I think what's next is like a flight to quality or a flight to fundamentals. And all of a sudden, people are going to say, well, I'm now really into crypto. Yeah, but why am I just going to bet on some fucking thing that the only value it has is that other people think it's valuable, right? Yeah. And why don't, blockchain's this amazing new technology. Well, what blockchains and what tools, what products have fundamental value? Which ones have metrics that like matter? Do I want to get behind that? Like I appreciate their communities, I can participate, and they're actually like doing things. And, there's this spring, there was like complete like blindness and like eyes closed and, ears covered to caring at all about any value. It was like, okay, let me degen into this, which
that would
these
peak
things
degeneracy.
are cyclical. So that's my, I talked, that was like a huge, like, but that's kind of my like macro view right now.
Yeah, no, I concur. Another point that I've thought about as well is in regards to NFTs versus meme coins, and you touched this, the size of the army. The size of the army truly matters. If you launch a 10,000 person or 10,000 picture rather NFT project, and you have a good project will have 30 to 40% holder ratio, right? You only have 3,000, 4,000 people who own those whole 10,000 NFTs. with a meme coin, like dog, we've had, what do we got, 50, 60, 70,000? I mean, Dogecoin, I don't know, there might be 1 million people who hold Doge.
Exactly.
That's a powerful army. And then there's the whole actual sort of qualitative aspect, where with NFTs, it's like, it's pretty weird to grasp the fact that a JPEG is worth X amount of dollars, but meme coins are really just synonymous with stocks. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't own it, you can't touch it, you can't feel it. It's so much easier to grasp, like, this is a different type of degeneracy that I'm familiar with. And then the community point I look at, you have really cool NFT projects that perhaps you and I would like Linked DAO. I was never a part of them because I was like, I can't really see this working. But if there's maybe a golf coin that comes out, that's something that I'd be down for. Maybe you partner with TaylorMade. Maybe you partner with Titleist. And Titleist accepts this meme coin as payment in a couple of years when everything is more seamless and everything is more interoperable. And this is I'm just using a niche for you and I because we're both golf nuts, but like, there are so many different ways. And then you tie in Web3 gaming, where, Doge has already built games. Pepe's built games. Bonk. I mean, look what Bonk did with BonkBot. BonkBot's making, what, $10 million a month off a friggin' trading bot on Telegram. So I do believe you and I are in the same yacht here, where meme coins really do have the power to onboard the masses because of how easy it is and how there's not a lot of friction besides, opening up a phantom wallet. After that, it's pretty darn easy. It's not too complicated to really participate in the ecosystem. But again, utility. We need more real world utility. We need more real world partnerships like what you guys are doing with Unity, like what you guys are doing with La Liga, where heck, there's got to be, probably close to a couple 100 million people who follow La Liga every friggin' day. If we can get even 1% of those guys on board, it's 1 million people coming over to Web3, Yeah. And then the parade is left town and boom, we're dancing. So a lot of excited shit that I'm pumped for. Any other areas before we let you go that are really tickling your fancy right now?
I think we're going to see some really cool Web3 AI applications. You're already seeing them. Scale has a few, like Palm AI is on Scale. Chirper is like this like, AI bot world that's all like crypto backbone, Web3 backbone. And, I think there's like 15-ish AI apps building on Scale. So I think that's a cool category to see these things come together at the application layer. Also, DePIN, decentralized physical infrastructure is cool. Like Exord's an awesome product where there's people in all these little parts of the world that are running these like physical infrastructure on their computer and capturing social sentiment in their region where you typically wouldn't be able to access that. So these people are like, I'll put one of these on over here. I'm going to get all this data, and they share it back, anonymously with the group, and they get paid in this token to be like a node capturing like social information, but in places that you might not be able to get that,
Yeah.
So it's like things like that. I think DePIN's got a lot of legs. Something that's further out is DeSci, decentralized science, but it's a lot of cool stuff happening, and that's going to be more kind of like enterprisey, company stuff than like consumer, but another big upcoming category.
DeSci, I've honestly never heard of that. You taught me something new today. DeSci.
Yeah, I mean, just think about like drug development and like scientific research, right? It's done right now in this like very kind of like siloed way that happens based off of like just certain universities and certain people, and then who gets funded by which biotechs and pharmas. And it basically puts the power in the hands of the builders, i.e. the researchers, and it creates incentive models for people to like collectively fund, own, and contribute to science. And that was actually one of the early ideas I had back in 2017, is I was going to build this with one of the top global pharma executives and a Harvard bioengineering PhD. My prior AI company, we worked a lot with biotech and life science. I had a lot of contacts, and now it's actually becoming a big thing. But it's heads up for that. You'll be reading about it in the headlines, I think, probably in the next 6 months or so.
I love it. Jack, always a treat having you on, my friend. Can't wait to meet you in person. I know it's been way too long. If it's not this summer on the links, it'll be in May 2025 in my city in Toronto. We're going to be swinging them. A lot of birdies, maybe the odd eagle, a bunch of pars, hopefully no bogeys, and definitely no doubles, but there will definitely be some doubles.
I hope I fix that, because I'm like, birdie, par, birdie, double bogey, birdie. I need to
I'm the same as you. I'm
like, how did I shoot
too volatile
that with like that many pars and birdies? I still shot like at 80. What am I doing?
Too volatile. I love it. Jack, always appreciate you coming on, my man. Before we let you go, can you please let our listeners know where they can find, of course, you personally and the one and only Scale Labs online and on socials?
Yeah. You can follow me on Twitter or X at Jack O'Halloran. You can follow Scale at Scale Network. A good place to just find all this information is the Scale website, which is scale.space, scale with a K, SKALE.space. So excited to have you join the community.
Folks, what an episode with Jack O'Halloran, co-founder and CEO of SKALE Labs. Always a treat having him on. We discussed everything Web3 gaming, ETH narrative, meme coins versus NFTs, in-game economies, some L2s, and of course, everything Scale related. Folks, if you guys enjoyed this one, I hope you did. Please do subscribe. It would mean the world to my team and I. Speaking of the team, love you guys so much. Thank you for everything. Eustace, you are the man as always. And back to the listeners. Love you guys. Keep on growing those bags. Keep on staying healthy, wealthy, and happy. Touch some grass. Throw some heavy shit around. Stay present as always. And love you guys. We'll talk soon. Ciao for now. We'll see you on the next one.